We've got Kelsey Bolar from the Heritage Foundation. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Kelsey, what'd you think about, we heard them describe it as essentially red meat for the conservative base, but I heard a very centrist kind of message from the president for a change.
Certainly, the president touched on divisive issues such as abortion. But look, overall, this was a uniting, optimistic, positive speech. And, the media pretending otherwise, I think, is reflective that they're out of touch with many Americans who independents would find plenty of opportunities to unite around this speech. Especially, I would call President Trump a producer-in-chief, the way he actually brought the country together in real time behind that reunification of a family whose service member they brought home.
And Rush Limbaugh and Juan Guaido. There were a lot of moments, Joe. What about for you?
Yeah, boy, red meat for the base is the USMCA, right, which is the single biggest legislative accomplishment for this president, this administration, that was passed by Democrats and Republicans. Is that red meat? Criminal justice reform, is that red meat? I didn't hear that either. Of course he's going to check off some things for his base. At last check, it's a election year. And here you had Chuck Todd saying this was not a normal State of the Union. It wasn't traditional. This is not a traditional president. And then for Casey Hunt on NBC to call it dark and poisonous, I'm sorry. There were so many uplifting moments during that speech. Those are not the two words I would use, Steve.
All right, Tony, since you did your ripping up the rundown, so you have no idea what's in this segment, what did you make of Nancy Pelosi? In the beginning when the president handed her the thing, he turned around. We don't know whether or not he saw her hand out. But at the end, it was very clear. That just means one thing.
By the way, if anybody else wants to rip, go right to it. Whether or not the president snubbed the handshake is one thing. I actually tend to, yes, he did. But your point earlier was he didn't shake
Pence's hand either.
I'm still going with yes. That would have made Donald Trump the petty one. You're ripping this up at the end of the speech. One of the problems with Speaker Pelosi, and I think one of the problems with the people who live in these bubble-type worlds, they don't understand that we see them. We watch you, we notice, and we don't find this decent. You had such a bad week. You couldn't get witnesses. You can't count in Iowa. You're going to acquit the president today of impeachment, something you knew, Nancy Pelosi, you shouldn't do anyway. We get it. It was a bad week. But exposing that it was a bad week and that you failed epically on every level at the State of the Union is not a way to get middle America on your side.
And not just when you say we saw it. 45 to 50 million people were watching that last night. And this looked small. It looked petulant. It looked classless. And it looked like the president got the better of her. She's usually poised. She lost it last night.
Well, let's compare with what she did last year at the 2019 State of the Union, and people commented about her clap. Do you remember? Go ahead and take a look at the screen, and we'll take a look at Nancy Pelosi's clapping from last year, and it was considerably more restrained than I guess. Okay, there we go. It's just a little kind of different thing she's got going on there, Kelsey. But nonetheless, right there, she is the face of the resistance when she rips things up.
Absolutely. And that moment only played to the far left base when Democrats need to be paying attention to the more moderates in their party. And I think if you look at the number of times Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, did not stand up during that speech when the president was touting these record low unemployment rates, the good economy, the blue collar boom, it furthers the partisan divide. We constantly hear Democrats lecturing us about how President Trump is degrading the dignity of the Oval Office. Well, ripping up a speech on national TV, a historic speech, is pretty classless, and we wonder why so many college students think it's okay to storm out of their classroom when they hear something they don't like. Well, look who their role models are.
Oh, what a good point. And, clearly parts of it were aimed at African Americans. He talked about record low black unemployment, commitment to solid education, choice for schools, and then honoring that Tuskegee Airman with the relative right there, and he had gotten a promotion earlier in the day. A lot of TV moments, Tony.
I thought one of the biggest ones was, I know a lot of people are going to talk about Rush Limbaugh and the Medal of Freedom, and it was something else. But there's Juan Guaido, the actual leader of Venezuela. And what I thought
didn't see that coming.
No one did. It's like the Spanish Inquisition. No one expected it. And then all of a sudden you have Democrats like Speaker Pelosi standing up and applauding. Donald Trump got Democrats to stand up against socialism. I think that's the storyline. And I can't believe it's being missed.
You get the final word, Joe.
My mother died of lung cancer a couple of years ago. And Rush Limbaugh, I get that he's a divisive figure, particularly to Democrats. And for Nancy Pelosi to sit and have that look on her face when he was first brought up, he has stage 4. There is no stage 5, Steve. And for Democrats not to at least show some humanity and cheer for this man, I thought was a problem. Also, Democrats right now in Iowa look positively disorganized. They're now in New Hampshire, and this is a party that's in disarray, that just failed at impeachment, and that's the juxtaposition right now. A president that's getting results versus a party that's serving only as a resistance party.
Excellent analysis here at the post-game show. Joe and Tony and Kelsey, thank you very much.
Thank you.